to get everybody's word, but we took all the tests that we had done for Jimmy's cancer doctor, because we went to the doctor and the test that we took to him, the disc didn't burn, so he didn't have anything to look at, and they postponed our appointment till January 15th. And so we left there and we went back to Silver Bone Joint and we got a new disc. And we carried it to his cancer doctor, and I just took it to the desk and I told the lady, I said, we had these tests done. I want Dr. Bond to look at these tests, and y'all please just call us and let us know if we need to come in. And the next morning she called me and she said, I knew you wanted to know before Christmas, but there's nothing, no cancer.
You know, when you've had cancer like I did, and it affects your life as much as it did, and affect all our lives as much as it did, and then be able to go and have the test run, and then them call and say, no cancer, nowhere. That's a good Christmas present. Amen. All right, if you got your Bible this morning, I'm not going to keep you real long this morning. I know a lot of folks got traveling to do, so we're going to chapter 2 of the book of Luke. Very familiar scripture to us, or should be. Chapter 2 and verse 1. Chapter 2 and verse 1. Father, I ask you help this morning. God, thank you for those that are here. Thank you for Ted, Lord, that's here today, God, and what you've done in his life, Father. I thank you, God, for that. And Lord, I just ask you to continue to strengthen him, lead him and guide him, God, through this journey, God, that he's on. Father, we just praise you for it, Lord. And all those that are in it with him, God, give them strength and courage enough to come through it, Lord, and still praise you the other side of it, Lord. Thank you for what you do for them. God, thank you for what you do for me, for my family, for this church. God, thank you for sending Christ to save us. Lord, we'll never thank you enough, and never be able to express to you, Lord, how much we love you. How much we love you, and thank you for what you do. So you lead and guide this morning. Be glorified in all that you do in Christ's name. Amen. The Bible says, and it came to pass in those days there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made in Cyrenius, when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one, into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because it was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn in which seated. Room in the inn. None for Jesus. No room. And this was purely, plain and simple, a night of miracles. A night of miracles. The taxing was a miracle. The trip to Bethlehem was a miracle. The timing of the birth was a miracle. The incarnation of Christ was a miracle. And then there was the miracle in the manger. So have you ever wondered why Christ was laid in a manger? And why not a mansion? Why not a mansion instead of a manger? I want you to think about this very closely now. The story had been written, and the Bible told the story very plainly in the prophets. And all of them wrote about Jesus in some way. Of course, we know the prophet Isaiah covered it very fully in his book about how the child would come and how he would be born and where he would be born and a virgin birth and all the things he told about it. And all these that were of the religious sect, that were of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all of those folks that were in power and those that were kings. And I want you to understand, those that were kings were also very astute in the Scriptures. They knew the Scriptures very well, because even the government of Israel was ran and followed after the Bible. It was set up on the Bible, kind of like, you know, America was, though there's so many that deny that the Constitution wasn't one that was wrote by those that loved God and knew God. And they try to claim that that's not true, but it is. And so was it with the people of Israel and all those that were in power and all those that led the religious sect. Now, had Jesus came to them first, then I want to assure you that because that we have the example of what they would do, they would have shut out the poor, the lame, the halting, those of lower ascent than they were. They would have made no way for them, and they would not even believe it, though the story was told. They would not believe that this was their coming king. He was rejected. He was denied by them. And like I said, they knew the story very well, that how he would come and to whom he would come first. But they rejected him. They rejected him as the world is today. And I would go so far as to say even the church is today. Rejecting Christ. Because it behooves me, confuses me, and challenges me to listen to the messages that are being preached, even in the mega churches where it's being preached today, that Jesus is left out again. Where there was found no room for him at this time in the end. There seems to be no room for Jesus even in the church today. And he said, wait a minute, the church is all about Jesus and hell and heaven and salvation. No, it's not. Oh, no, it's not. You'll very seldom ever hear the gospel message preached. You'll never hear sin preached on. And even those that are in the mega churches right now, they are preaching this new gospel and speak only of grace and talk about simply only message they have about God is God's love. And listen to me, I want to assure you, and no one can deny the love of God. He left heaven. He became a man, died, and rose again the third day. Yes, he loved us. He loved us. But listen, God has an expectation of us that partake of that love, that accept him as our Savior. He has an expectation that we live a changed life. Amen. Where is that preaching at? Where is the preaching at against sin anymore? You won't hear it. You won't hear it. The major line of preaching today is to not even admit that you have sinned. To not even admit, to never acknowledge that you're a sinner. Never acknowledge that you're a sinner. And the answer to your problems is within yourself. That's a lie. That is a bald-faced, out of the pit of hell lie that is being preached today. He says, you know, a better me, the champion in me, the winner in me. I'm going to tell you right now, without Christ in me, there's no winner in me. And there's nothing but a lie of the devil that I can overcome it. I can defeat my past by myself. By just thinking positive thoughts. By never agreeing with God about my sin. And never ever thinking that God would chasten me because of sin. I'm telling you, we can preach the love of God all we want to, and we should preach the love of God. But if we don't preach a balanced gospel, if we don't preach about the wrath of God, we're preaching another gospel. Amen. We're not preaching the Bible gospel. We're not preaching what God told us to preach. Because after we are saved, we have to remember there is nothing that is in our life that God's not pleased with, that he will not give us power to overcome. Amen. He will be there. And He expects us, once we give our life to Him, to not take it back. We're not supposed to take our life back. We're supposed to give it to Him and then follow Him. The manger is a perfect picture of the rejection of that day and the rejection of today. I heard one of the mainline preachers preach or being interviewed after he had preached a particular message, and they kept shooting points and points and points out of his message, and they were looking for the word Calvary or the cross or blood or the death of Christ or the wrath of God. And no sermon, they tried to run one like a month's worth of sermons, and he said, oh, you'll never hear me bring up those things because it will discourage the people. It will offend the people. They won't leave happy. They won't leave happy. Well, I promise you this. It made me very happy that the Lord come, but He didn't come to make me happy. Amen. He didn't come to make me happy. Though many times what He done for me brings great joy to my heart. An everlasting joy that you can't steal. And even regardless of the times or the situations of my life, I can be happy in it. But I promise you, that's not why He came. He came because I was separated from Him eternally. I had no way into heaven. I was marked for a devil's hell, and I was on the fast track there. I was on the express lane towards hell. He came to rescue me. He came to rescue me when I could not help myself. I could not help myself. Regardless of how good I wanted to be, I'm telling you, I have a very good awareness of who I am without God, and it's not a pretty picture. It's not a pretty picture, I'm telling you. I wish there was, and listen, there's times in my life that I have strove against things that I just could not overcome. I just could not overcome them. But regardless of how hard that I tried, I would still fail. Because I didn't have the power of God in my life. There were so many things that I was challenged with that I wasn't used to. And listen to me, I'm one of those self-sufficient kind of guys. I don't like to depend on nobody. I think I'm a bull. And I can handle anything, and I can make anything happen. And I can run anything, and I can do anything. And don't tell me I can't, because I'm just hard-headed enough to prove to you. I mean, I was a man. I was a bull. And I didn't, and I'm going to tell you right now, God had to bring me to a place that I wasn't no bull no more. That I was defeated and whipped. And I was downtrodden and pressed down so hard. I was grabbing everything the world had to offer to try to make the hurt go away. And I couldn't make the hurt go away by myself. I'm telling you, I could make it go. I could numb it for a while. I could numb it for a little while. But I could not defeat it. And it would defeat me. And I'd get to that dark place in my life again. And then I'd have to start looking to see what the world had to offer to bring it, to bring me to a place that wasn't pressing me so hard, and how I could rescue myself. And I never did get free of it. The devil defeated me on every side. Everything that I tried to do, I would start out good. I'd start out with the best intentions, and all of us have heard that old saying that road to hell is paved with good intentions. I had good intentions, but I'm telling you right now, good intentions will not sustain you. They'll start you down the right road, but I promise you they will leave you high and dry. Amen. So this manger scene that we see here, now you have to imagine, I just want you to imagine for a minute, there's a cow trough where the cows ate out of. And God said, put me in that. Lay me right there. And bring those old milk cloths that they used to wipe the cows' udders with before they milked the cow. Bring those old milk cloths and wrap me up and put me in the trough that the cattle eat out of. And God said to do that. That was God's plan to do that. And I'm telling you right now, the Bible has to be true. There's no way to deny the proof of the Bible. Because I'm telling you, man, if we'd have wrote it, listen, if I would have been God and I was leaving heaven and I was coming to earth, I guarantee you I wouldn't have wrote a story where I'd have wound up in a cow's trough. I wouldn't have wound up in a barn. I would have wound up in a palace. I'm talking about with lush everything that you could have had. Anything that I could have imagined. That's what I'd have built if it had been me. That's the story I would have wrote. So I guarantee you that the Bible's true. Because man, did God go a long way out of his way to find me. He went a long way out of his way to find me. There's no room in the inn for him. As Joseph said, look, I'm in trouble here. I'm in the worst kind of way. My wife is about to deliver. And I've got to have a place that is warm and is dry, that is safe for her to bring this child into the world. And the man said, look, we don't have any room regardless of what it is. Even if you were about to deliver a king, we couldn't put you up. Oh, what he said and how true it was. And he didn't realize what he was talking about. But there was room in the inn for business. There was room in the inn for pleasure. There was room in the inn for anything that they wanted to do. There's room in the church for anything. You can have the biggest old club you've ever seen. You can have this going on and that going on and that. But boy, you talk about, say, wait a minute now. All we're going to do today is praise the Lord. Wait a minute, that ain't no fun. We don't want to do that. Well, all we're going to talk about is Jesus. If everything you bring up today has to start and end with Jesus, well, I don't think we're going to go. I don't think, what are you telling me? You're telling me there's no room even in the church for him? The man, they scanned and scanned and scanned 3.5 months worth of sermons before he ever mentioned the name of Jesus once. 3.5 months of services, he never mentioned the Master. He never mentioned Jesus. 3.5 mega church, 50,000 people in attendance every Sunday. Never heard Jesus in 1.5 months worth of messages. They heard a message of that the answer was in themselves. The answer was in a good attitude. The answer was in how hard they tried. He really, I'm telling you, he just kind of stuttered and stammered around the thing. He really couldn't answer the man. He said, why, if you're a gospel preacher, which is the good news of Jesus coming into the world to save sinners, why wouldn't he at least come up in that length of time? And he never gave him a direct answer. He said, oh, well, they know we're talking about Jesus. They know who we're talking about. But if you would take the story of Jesus, and if you were to tell the whole story just like it happened, it's very discouraging. And my people will become discouraged if I go through the whole story about Jesus, where he came and he was born in a cow's trough, and he went from city to city, and the people, more than anything, rejected him over and over and over again. Though he done many miracles, his life was the life basically of a peasant. And we don't want to talk about the life of a peasant. We want to talk about the life of a king. We want to talk about a life of plenty, of overrun, of the abundance of everything, and that if you're right with God, you can drive a Mercedes-Benz like the preacher does, yet he's the only one really that's got one in the parking lot. He talks about everybody else is going to get one day, but it don't ever seem to happen. And then they do a documentary on him, and he lives in a 26,000 square foot house with 18 bathrooms in it, you know, and 35 bedrooms, and it's worth, you know, $14 million, the house he lives in, though he's got one. It don't seem to be anybody else in the church that's got one, you know. And they found out, and this is the truth. It was so revealing to me that this church, and it's a different one that I talked about earlier, but this is a different church, and the average income of that church was $70,000 a year, which is in Mississippi standards, that's a pretty fair income, but it was $70,000 a year. And they asked him what his income is, but he said only of the reported that I report is $7 million a year. My income, $7 million a year. And I'm saying 70,000 of the average people, $7 million a year? My goodness. My goodness. No wonder you got all these Bentleys and Mercedes and Rolls Royces and all of that. My Lord, you can buy one a week on that, that kind of money. My Lord. And then expecting those that make $70,000 a year to pay him $7 million a year. I just, and then that still remained. After a while, I just kind of start getting the picture. I go like, wait a minute now, I'm driving a Chevrolet. And I'm pulling up beside a Rolls Royce every day. And he's talking about I'm going to get one. I've been here 10 years. I still ain't driving no Rolls Royce, But I have a hoot of a time. We sure get to rolling, And then he got this thing about when after they take up the offering and all of that and all this and all that, then all the way through the message, they put money on the steps of the altars, By the time that he gets through preaching, he's kicking money around. I'm talking about it 3 inches, 4 inches deep of money and envelopes and all that. And I'm saying, my Lordy, And that seems to be the main gist of what he's talking about. Is that one day, you're going to be rich. And then once you get rich, to say like he is, then you're wound up in the center of God's will. And I see all these people that surrounded Jesus, for a bunch of, fishermen and just common people, even the disciples, just common people. And I'm saying, well, how do those stories match up at all? They don't match up anywhere. They don't match up anywhere. And I can try to imagine if I take this mega church and put it in Bethlehem of that day. And I'm going, hey, that wouldn't fit. That wouldn't work. So, as they rejected Christ, I think the world is setting up, like I said, the coming of the Lord. The coming of the Lord. I believe that many, not all, many of these mega churches are prophets and apostles of the Antichrist. They're leading away from Jesus. They're leading away from... Listen, I wouldn't say that, and I didn't say all of them, and I don't know their hearts, but I know what I see and I know what I hear, and it's a anti-Christ message. It's anti-Christ already. It's not. We don't have to wait on, well, here is the Antichrist. We don't have to wait on that. They're already preaching the Antichrist message. It's already accepted. Already accepted. Jesus wouldn't be accepted. He couldn't get on the membership of any of those churches. He couldn't do it. So a perfect picture of rejection. And then the manger was a perfect picture of redemption. The two signs given by the angels to the shepherds was, he's going to be wrapped in swaddling clothes. He's going to be laid in a manger. You know that the hearts of those shepherds was full when they found out he's going to be in a barn. That's where they basically lived all of their life, either with the sheep or in something no better than a barn. And how much joy they should have had when they walk in to the little barn, the little shed, and find their Redeemer find their Savior. And I promise you, you can find Jesus in the most unlikely places that you ever imagined. Don't look for Jesus in the typical places that the world thinks he'll be. And you're probably not going to be able to convince them that that's where you found Jesus at, because these shepherds would have had the same problem if they had went to the hierarchy, the religious hierarchy of that day, and said, we found the king, and he's in a trough, in a manger, wrapped in swaddling clothes, laying in a manger, in a cow stall in Bethlehem. Never convinced. He was rejected. And then the perfect picture of the Redeemer. Why? Because not only did the hierarchy of the church know of the gospel message that Jesus would come and how he would be born, but so did those poor shepherds in that field. As you see, they were looking for two different things. Those, the hierarchy of the church, they were looking for a king to come into a mansion. Those in the field with the sheep, they were looking for him to come in a manger. And that's what he did. One other point, I close on this. The manger was a perfect picture of his reachability. Not only could the hierarchy and the king and anybody else that wanted to come could have come to Jesus right where he was. There wasn't a big gate on the cow stall. There wasn't a guard posted at the door. There was no big lock or mechanism to stop anybody from coming in. It was wide open. Anybody that wanted to come in could come in at that time. And you know what? It's still the same way. Anybody can come to Jesus that wants to. He's just as reachable as he ever was. The first announcement was to the humble shepherd. We must be careful when we start restricting people and saying, well, the Lord wouldn't come where you're at. The Lord won't help you in your condition. You're going to have to change things before the Lord will accept you. I'll tell you right now, you don't have to change one thing. You don't have to change one thing in your life. The only thing that you had to change this morning is to come from where you were to where you are. And that's done. Here you are. Here you are. That's the only thing that you had to do today, was to come from where you were to where you are right now. And where you are right now is in a perfect position for Jesus to help you. He wants to help you. He came to help you. And he will help you today. So you say, Brother Jimmy, you just don't understand the struggles I'm going through in my life. I've lost my family. I've lost my job. I've lost my health. I've lost this. I've lost that. And I feel like I'm in a free fall. And I don't have anything to grab a hold of. I don't have anything to grab a hold of. And I'm in a free fall. And I can't stop it. I can't stop it. Everywhere I turn, I lose. Every direction I go is a failure. I'm telling you today, because you came from where you were to where you are, you came to the perfect place to find Jesus. Though you'd have never thought it when you left home. You come to see family, you come to see friends, you come for this, you come for that, you come for a lot of different reasons. But now that you're here, I want you to realize you really came so Jesus could be accessible to you. There's no lock on the door. There's no big gate, and there's certainly no guard standing over it. It's wide open. You want to be rescued today. You want the abundant life. I didn't say you get the Rolls Royce. I say that. But you'll get a heart that doesn't want one. You'll everything, Jesus is all
Amen.
you need.
Amen.
You'll become fulfilled in Him. And everything you need, you'll find in Him. So I want to just offer Him up to you today. That's what He came for. And He came to the most unlikely place so He could be accessible to you. Listen, this is not your mind playing with you. This is not a trick or a form of manipulation to manipulate you to a point that you'll do something that you wouldn't normally. I don't do that. I can't save you. I can't save you. But I can spend my time talking about the one that can and will.
Amen.
That can, will, and wants to. All you have to do is come. And I ask you to do that this morning as we close. Father, Lord, this is your time. Lord, I know you've never failed to go to each person that's in this room. Lord, to that one first, God, that is looking for you today. That left where they were and come to where you're at to find you. And Lord, you're here. And I know the power, conviction power of the Holy Spirit has already worked on their heart. And Lord, it's already brought them to a place that they're going to have to decide to come to Jesus or to turn Him down. Lord, I would that they'd come this morning. Father, I know that's your desire, your will. Lord, it sure would bless my heart, God, to see you begin to work in their lives. And God, jerk them out of the clutches of the devil and what he's doing in their lives and destroying their family, destroying their kids and breaking their hearts, Lord. That's all he does, steal, kill, and destroy. But God, you're here to rescue them. You have your way in their life. Let them come this morning. Lord, I see the faces. I see the tears. I see the pain in their life and in their heart. God, you come today in Jesus' name. Amen.